What's up, Buttercups? Welcome to Mean Age Daydream with me, your host, Brian McWilliams, here on the Lions of Liberty Network, your number one go-to for all things liberty, politics, comedy, and much, much more. Of course, you can find us everywhere by subscribing to the podcast, by going to YouTube. Hit that notify button because we are, of course, shadow banned. But anyway, welcome to the show. Lot to talk about today, so let's hop into it. But first, remember, you can get access to our Patreon content, my Good Morning Fuckhead rants, Do Nothing Mans, and yes, I know I keep saying it's coming. It is coming. I have it written down. I just have to record it now, as well as forthcoming bonus content from Brian Nichols, from Lou Perez, our new additions to the podcast network here, and, of course, Secrets, Lies, and Cover-Ups. So get on board, won't you? Okay. What do you want to talk about today? Well, there's one thing you have to talk about today, and that is Elon Musk, the billionaire, the rocket scientist. Well, he's not a rocket scientist. Let's say rocket innovator, rocket entrepreneur, because Elon's not back there fiddling personally, but the man behind SpaceX, the man behind Tesla, the man behind Neuralink, the man behind Doge, who had formerly been tied at the hip to President Donald Trump in efforts to curtail government spending. And Donald Trump still to this day insists that he is a fiscally responsible president, despite the fact that he is pushing the big, beautiful bill to the tune of an additional $4 to $5 trillion in deficit spending, on top of a current running deficit, by the way, almost $37 trillion. Almost $37 trillion, guys. It's funny. We at the Libertarian Party had put out a press release today calling for a state of emergency to be declared because of the national debt. And I swear to God, if there's a state of emergency that's not nuclear brinksmanship with Russia that needs to be declared, it is our debt. The fact that every empire in the history of mankind that has gotten as large as the United States, that has expanded as far as the United States, and that has sold out its currency like the United States, has collapsed under the weight of its debt is not a coincidence. And we are going down the exact same path. It is absolutely a threat to our freedom. It's a threat to our well-being. It is a threat to the republic of this nation. And watch, if it does not get taken care of, you will start to see things collapsing. I can fucking promise you this. I shouldn't have said that at the beginning of the episode. I'm going to docked on YouTube now, but whatever. So Elon Musk just today hit his breaking point. Now, if you're not familiar with it, I'll tell you exactly what he said momentarily, but remember the lead up to this. Elon Musk is working with Trump, going through with Doge, trying to find ways to cut budget expenditures, budget grift under the USAID and all of these other nonsense programs that have been put in and essentially have worked as funnels for money laundering and for taking care of cronyism throughout the federal government. This expands to NGOs, this expands to welfare systems, this expands to just anything, you name it. And our bloated runaway budget, and let's not forget also military spending, right? The Pentagon has been audited several times and always comes up billions upon billions upon billions of dollars short and has no idea where the money went. So Musk spends all this time, takes 3 months, which was his allotted time in office, by the way. All these liberal honks want to pretend that Elon Musk was chased out of the office or that he called it quits. He was scheduled to run for 3 months in his position, and he finished that position. He decided, okay, I'm done. Now, why did he decide that? Well, partially because the cowards in Congress refused to push forth and codify these measures that he put forth with Doge. Now, this apparently is going to happen, but to the tune of something like $10 billion. Pennies. And I myself have made the point that it doesn't matter that these are pennies in the broader context of shifting the Overton window. And that is what's happened. Do not get me wrong here, folks. The Overton window has shifted. The broad public is demanding that the Doge cuts go into effect and that this process continues. There is broad public support for it on both sides of the aisle, I'll have you know. Yet, when it came down to it, the big, beautiful bill, which Donald Trump is stumping for, which Donald Trump attacked Thomas Massie, one of the few principled people in the political sphere who stood up and said, this is insanity. I will not vote for it. This is fiscal irresponsibility. This will bankrupt our nation. This will further erode confidence, not only in our own public and as far as our monetary systems are concerned and our saving systems and our investment systems are concerned, but also on a global scale because of all these countries that buy and hold our debt and that have leverage over us because of it. And if not direct leverage over us, they have leverage over us in the way that they can use our debt to manipulate other nations that are poorer. Nobody seems to want to talk about this, but it is a pertinent factor in the equation. When you have other nations that can have pressure applied to them by a China or by a Russia or by any number of countries that hold our debt, they can be forced into doing things that are not in the best interest of our country. That is a simple fact. The cowards in the House passed the big, beautiful bill. Donald Trump, of course, attacks Thomas Massie, which did not go over well. And now Donald Trump is currently attacking Rand Paul because Rand Paul has the guts to stand up and say that this is an atrocity. Now, Rand has been getting some support from folks like Elon Musk, who just today, this morning, as I'm recording this on Tuesday, live streaming Tuesday as well. Elon Musk posted today, and this is after doing an interview where he said he was very disappointed. He was very disillusioned with the political process, that he would be pulling back his spending politically moving forward, because after spending whatever it was, $300 million or whatever he ended up spending on Donald Trump and on conservative campaigning, to see these people who he had supported, who he put so much on the line for, right? Seeing the left media attack him, seeing, complete psychotic liberals attack Tesla dealerships, firebomb them, key people's cars, attack other people for driving a car, for fuck's sake. Seeing all this and the personal risk he put out there to be betrayed by the cowards in Congress has disillusioned him from spending that money. You hate to say it, but welcome to the club. And actually, one of our social guys, Alex Vidal, who's helping us out with the LP, had posted a very appropriate musical response, which is from the, I think it's the Killers, I told you so, we told you so. That's the famous song they put out there. Now, Elon Musk posted this today. I'm sorry, but I just can't stand it anymore. This massive, outrageous, pork-filled congressional spending bill is a disgusting abomination. Shame on those of you who voted for it. You know you did wrong. You know it. Now, did he explicitly call out Donald Trump there? No, he didn't. And that's smart by Elon, right? You don't explicitly want to call it Donald Trump. I don't have a problem doing it personally here, but he did not call it Donald Trump because he knows, look, you've already got the left hating you. You don't need to poke the bear of MAGA. And there's a lot of people from MAGA that are bought and paid for. We know that. Influencers that are bought and paid for on the right that are going to gin up hatred for Musk in response to any criticism of Donald Trump. But this, calling the big, beautiful old abomination and taking a tacit jab at Trump in the way of, look, you did wrong, you know it, is Elon Musk basically saying, I wash my hands of this. I've seen the way that the sausage is made here. I've seen the absolute pointlessness in tackling the system in this way. And now somebody else, and I apologize, I can't remember exactly who had toasted this. Actually, you know what? It was Austin Peterson, who was just on Odie's show Monday. But Austin Peterson had tweeted out, making a very good point that, what was more effective, or could have been more effective, was that Vivek Ramaswamy and Elon Musk were both on the Doge team. Vivek ended up leaving because of a disagreement as far as the tactics to be used in implementing Doge. What will have the most meaningful cuts? Elon wanted to go for, let's get in there, let's cut the spending, let's try to get these things, expose the fraud and grift, which has worked to his credit, expose that fraud and grift, and use, Sturm and Drang, go in there, shock and awe, get it done, executive order style. Let's see if Donald Trump can push it through, and then we'll let the chips fall where they may. That clearly does not work. The deep state's too strong. The vested interest in all of these cronyist pieces of garbage who exist in our political system and have been mired in the swamp for years, rolling around in their own feces. They have too much invested to lose. So Vivek's system, which would have attacked it through deregulation, may in fact have been the better system to use. Now, that being said, going back to Musk here, this is a pretty incredible twist, because not only is Elon Musk calling out that the system is completely broken and almost unfixable at this point, but also it does match a character arc in Elon Musk that may just see him come around to being a full-bore libertarian. Because really, guys, when you think about it, how did you get here? How did you become one of us? Ziggy Zaggy, Higgy Zaggy, one of us. How did you become one of us? Well, you saw through your own readings and through observing how our system works, the pointlessness, the futility in trying to work with these people within the system in this regard, because they're never going to give up. They're never going to let go of that bone that they've been chewing on for so long, like a dog, like a mangy, rat-bitten, flea-riddled, bubonic plague carrying dog. I don't know if dogs carry the bubonic plague. I'm guessing they did. Sitting in the corner, snarling at you if you try to take away his fucking bone. That's what these people are. And Elon Musk is seeing that full bore, and he's going to have the same transition that all of us did, which is going from a person who looks at a political system and says, you know what, there's hope. If we get the right people in there, that there's hope, to saying this just has to go burn to the ground. And I don't know. I'm speaking on my own here. I'm guessing what Elon Musk is thinking in his head after seeing this hard work, this effort, this personal risk go for naught. Seeing that, I think he's going to be a full-bore anarcho-capitalist in 0 to no time. And honestly, I was thinking this. Maybe I should have tweeted it at Musk and try to get myself some personal credence here. But one of the things that does intrigue me about Elon Musk and his quest to go to Mars, now more than ever, makes me wonder, okay, if Elon Musk is the first person there, and there should be, by the way, and we should, as a people, as humanity, stand up and demand that no government can get control of Mars. No government can stake their claim to Mars. If he's the first one there, a private citizen, he goes to Mars, he creates the communities, he creates the domes and whatever it might be. He's terraforming the crap out of it. You've got Quaid up there, putting his hand in the alien machine that's clearly on Mars. Total recall for you idiots that might not get it. If Musk is up there, he has a chance to do something wonderful. He's a chance to put into play a truly free system and show the world how that can operate. I mean, we're looking at a time where Javier Milei is having unbelievable returns on his system, where unlike a Trump, he was committed to cutting the deficit. He was committed to erasing the welfare state. He was able to force that through. And honestly, I need to get an expert on Argentina and Milei in here to talk about it. And maybe I'll get my buddy Fernando in here to talk about it. I'll have to reach out to him. But I'd love to hear a breakdown of play by play how Milei went about doing this. And I'm sure not all of it is going to jive with our sensibilities, but there is a time. And in fact, I think Odie and Austin Peterson were talking about this on Monday. Libertarian sensibilities are only going to get you so far, and that's a fact. We can cling to our philosophy. We can cling to the base, hey, we believe in this, but there has to be a time when it has to go beyond that and expand that to get the result that you do want. We can't exist in this happy-go-lucky fantasy realm where we think that simply winning over a few people here and there is going to get it done. It has to be a massive phase shift in the way the culture operates, or it has to be done swiftly. It has to be cutting the snake off at the head, and that was not able to be done here. That's the thing. It wasn't able to be done here. I defended some of the uses of executive orders because I hate executive orders, but saying there's only one way to achieve this, and it has to be done in this matter, because if it's not, you're going to have all of these massive corporations, political parties, the indebted or embedded deep state, and all these politicians. They will outlast you. It remains to be seen what the fallout of this could be. Matt Kibbe, good friend of ours, he is adamant that this will bite Republicans in the ass come the midterms. And I hope it does. I hope it does, to send a message. As much as I hate the idea of Democrats taking over again, there has to be a message sent. And I have to hope that the culture and the population has seen what's going on here and demands that the Democrats take some action as well, that they hold these people accountable, or that, God forbid, the most unbelievable things happen and that people actually start to look at libertarianism and say, these are the only people that are principled. This party is the only principled party out there that actually is going to try to do anything, that is going to stick to what they say and get these cuts made. But Elon Musk, the most well, I don't know if he's still the richest after Tesla's stock got attacked by all these nutbags, but Elon Musk still has arguably the biggest platform in the world. Since he bought X, since he made it into a free speech engine, since he's opened up the floodgates and freed the shackles from much of the censorship and domination of the narrative by government entities and by the left, which, of course, when we talk about the left, the most prominent voices on the left are bought and paid for by the World Economic Foundation, by global corporatists and cronyists, by corporations, by NGOs. All these people are bought and paid for anyway. He's opened it up and given himself, intentionally or not, the biggest platform, the biggest voice. So when Elon Musk says this, and at the time, let me see what Elon Musk's post has as far as reach. So as of right now, it has 47,000 retweets, 284,000 likes, and what's the reach on it? 39 million views. Now that's globally. That's not just here in the US, but the left is actually playing right into Elon Musk's hands by covering this, because they're covering it as Elon Musk betrays Donald Trump. And look, I even did it some in my headline here, right? You got to have a hook. By covering it and saying Elon Musk has turned on Donald Trump and calls his bill an abomination. Well, yeah, it is. You're helping to wake people up. You're helping to bring people to the realization of just how poisonous our system is, how hard it is to change anything within our system. And it is hopefully not going to simply end at whatever this tweet ends up. At 39 million now, I'm sure by tomorrow, it'll be something like 80 million. But then you think about how many other people are seeing the corporate reports that are coming out. How many people are hearing about it on podcasts like this one? How many people are going to find out about it through second, third hand, fourth hand reports? This is going to reach something like, I would say, 200 million people easily. The message that this bill is an abomination, that spending like this cannot go on, cannot be permitted to go on in this manner, lest we have a republic that collapses in on itself. And that is exactly why we put that press release out today. So Elon Musk, welcome to the club. Welcome to the party, pal, as they say in Batman. No, I'm sorry. It's not Batman. Die Hard. Sorry. What am I thinking of for Batman? That's such a great line. Well, it doesn't really matter. The point is, I go back and forth on whether or not I'm white pilled or black pilled. 2025 will go down as a year that few of us will forget. The question is whether or not that's going to be that we remember it for the year that the climate hoax collapsed in on itself. And that's quickly happening. Will we remember it as the year that the Pride movement took a massive step backwards, or at least was removed from what they're calling Pride fatigue, where you're not seeing this pushed down our throats all the time, nonstop? And we'll talk about that momentarily. Will we remember it for the good of exposing people to the government grift and the dangers that lie in that? Or will we remember it as the year that World War III started? Will we remember it as the year that NATO and the Ukraine pushed us to the brink of nuclear war once again, or that there was a nuclear attack and now we all are once again cowering in bunkers? I try to be a positive person. I know I'm an odd person in that I'm a massive cynic who also has a very positive outlook. I try to find the bright side, but I also remind myself of the cynicism, something we're also going to talk about, because cynicism might just save our world in numerous ways. And we'll finish the episode about that and tying into AI. But I certainly hope that this transition from Elon Musk being a cheerleader and believing that he can get this done with force of will and action and plans and exposing this, that this transition into a man who is disillusioned and is now fully set on telling the truth of the matter and calling it as he sees it and trying to change the culture in the population's mindset. I'm excited to see that happen. So I don't know. Am I gray pilled? I'm right in the middle. I'm dancing with myself. All right. So that's the first thing. Let's move on and talk now about Pride, and then we'll get into, actually, no, let's talk about Ukraine first. So Ukraine, with the help of NATO, right? Because there's no way in hell that NATO was not responsible for the coordination, the planning, the funding, the technology behind the massive drone attack that was just undertaken a couple days ago by Ukraine. Now, this attack took out something like what is being reported as a third of Russia's bombers. I don't know if that's accurate or not. I'm guessing that's somewhat accurate, though. Now, Russia may have next generation bombers that are not just sitting out on airfields able to be bombed. I believe that's probably the case. I mean, just like the United States, I'm sure there's weaponry the United States has that no one's ever seen before. I've been listening to a book on tape about the Pentagon and about DARPA and the innovations in DARPA that were completely alien, like the stealth bomber, never been seen before until the time to act came about. Russia did use a weapon that was similar to this, a kinetic weapon that essentially has an impact similar to a tactical nuclear bomb, but is using kinetics, essentially dropping it from high enough with a deep enough impact of a heavy metal, like a tungsten, for example, that can, have the same effect of massive, massive impact, but yet without nuclear fallout. We know they have that. We would be remiss to think that they don't have some sort of next generation bombers that are also undercover somewhere that they can bring out. And we might just see those used fairly soon, because Russia's been put into a position now where you've got a brazen attack. And this is coming after a ceasefire. This is coming in the midst of trying to have peace talks. And then you have this Russian attack coordinated by NATO. If you're Russia, where do you go from here? I have to think that the only reaction is going to be a massive attack on Ukraine. And it's going to be something like we have not seen in this war before. It's going to be something that is shock and awe, to reuse that term from earlier. And it's going to be something where we're going to be on the precipice of NATO saying, well, now we have to act. And we may just be put in that position that J.D. Vance had referenced when the Article 5 of the NATO agreement, which requires the United States to take action, gets pulled in because these psychopaths in the European countries and the psychopath neocons that are still existing in our system and might, like the Lindsey Grahams of the world, who, of course, Lindsey Graham, coincidentally, just in Ukraine 2 days ago. And then, wow, this massive drone attack happens. We need to get out of NATO. We need to either get out of it now, immediately, or we need to ignore Article 5 and just say, we're not taking part in this. Because you look at what NATO did, and NATO can say, well, we're just providing some of this and some of that, and we're not actually, we don't have troops on the ground, which is a lie. We didn't do it distinctly ourselves, but that is also a lie. Because if you're providing the technology, the funding, the strategic and tactical advice and targeting for this attack and coordinating hand in hand with Ukraine, you are at war with Russia. There's no way around it. And the timing of this makes it very clear that peace was never on the table. I think we can all admit that. Peace was never on the table. Zelensky is a psychopath bent on getting it, finishing this war with Russia. NATO and the backers in the European Union want a war with Russia. They want to push this forward. The powers that be want to push it forward. There's a lot of different reasons for that. Number one is money. Number two is power. Number three is resources. So this penchant for pushing the boundary of what is going to be tolerated by Russia may just be, as I said before, the black pill. This might be the camel, the straw that breaks the camel's back, and really puts us in the position where we're once again in a Cold War, if not a hot war. It's unbelievable when you think about the last few years, how we've been lied to, how we've been gaslit by the media, by all this propaganda coming out of Ukraine and the European Union. I talked about last show how journalists had been barred from traveling in the EU because they dared report what was called pro-Ukrainian propaganda. But like I was saying, what's making it blatantly obvious is peace was always an illusion. These people will not let it end. The only way, and I honestly believe this at this point, the only way this is going to end now is with Russia completely decimating Ukraine and the United States saying flat out, we will not be party to a world war. We will not be party with a war with Russia to back our NATO allies. I hope I'm wrong. I hope this somehow gets resolved. Maybe I'm the crazy one, and maybe this attack is actually Ukraine saying, see, you have to come to the table now because, look, we can get you. Hey, I hope to God that's the truth, but I'll tell you in my heart of hearts, I don't think it is. All right. Next thing, let's talk about pride, right? There's not much more to say about this. We have to wait and see. Let's talk about pride. As I said, one of the white pills here is that as a person who fully believes in the rights of people to live their lives happily as they see fit, as long as those rights don't intrude on or supersede the rights of others, which is where I have a huge issue with the trans movement. I view pride as what was a good. And I'm sorry if you've heard me tell this speech before, but it's a time to talk about it again. I had this discussion with my gay cousin and his husband, who I love to death. They are literally the people that will get my children should anything happen to me and my wife. That's how much I trust these people and appreciate these people. But when you're talking about pride, you have something, and I tweeted about this making a joke, that the pride flag now reminds you of the scene in Jaws. There's so much tacked onto, there's so many different vested interests that people have tacked onto this. They get money, they get funding, they get exposure, that have, interest in continuing to push the most fringe elements of our society into the mainstream that have nothing to do with the fundamental core of what pride was, which was the fact that people exist that are gay, that have, quote, divergent lifestyles, that simply want to be acknowledged as we are the equal, we're the same as you. We're your neighbors, we're your friends. You may not have known it, but here we are, right? That was the intent of pride. We deserve respect. We don't want to hide anymore here. We're just like you. We just want to be part of the community. That went to the wayside as it's been co-opted by sexual fetishists, by mental illness, by, Native American two-spirit people, by people that don't want to have sex, to people that want to dress up as furry dogs and have sex. None of this has to do, specific sexual acts and fetishes have nothing to do with pride. And that bled into what pride parades became. This is where the tide started to turn against pride, is when you have gay pride festivals, which were a celebration of we're part of you, into a distinct effort to alienate norms. A distinct effort to showcase public nudity, public fornication, public defecation, public urination, and sexual fetishes put on display. And half of them were because these people enjoy being on display, and that is the sexual fetish. And it would be ridiculous to pretend otherwise. You have at the same time this massive push by corporations, as spurred on by activists, a tiny portion of the population, forcing, through the squeaky wheel syndrome, corporations to bend the knee. Corporations say, well, I guess we'll go ahead and do this. We'll virtue signal because we don't want to have these people boycott us and get in trouble because these activists are loud and they're well-funded, right? So they bend the knee. They start putting everything all month long, pride, pride, pride. They change logos. They have T-shirts. They change entire displays and all this different stuff. This has gone on for decades now. And yes, the concept of pride fatigue is very real. And this, like I said, this comes from somebody who has nothing but love for the gay community. And, to the point where, like I was saying, I've got family members taking my kids if something happens to me. There is nothing in my heart but love for these people. And yet I'm sick of it. I roll my eyes at every single time I turn on my Hulu and it's got a giant rainbow flag showing me every single movie that has to do with gay pride for an entire month. We're not at the point in the culture where we have to fight this fight anymore. The fight that's being fought is by, as I said, a minuscule population, 1% of 1% of 1% that is pushing this, actively crazier and crazier philosophy and dragging along the, 7 or 8% of people that are gay in this world. And I'm sure that's not exactly correct. I don't know what the numbers are now, because people with modern day polling and the way the questions are and people identifying as X, Y, and Z to get a kick out of it or make themselves feel special, you never know who's actually gay anymore or who's not. But the point being, these people are getting dragged along. And I know the vast majority, well, I can't say vast, the majority of gay people, as from some polling I've seen as well, are now also viewing pride and all of this emphasis as a detriment. And this is what I warned about, is you're going to have a recoil effect when you push this, what is considered depravity by many people. And I'm not talking about just regular gay marriage and people living their lives privately. When you're talking about the depravity put on display and forced in your face, and you're forced to acknowledge it. And if you don't, they try to cancel you and they tell you you're a horrible bigot and a racist and whatever else might be. When you have that scenario, people will be turned off. You will go from acceptance to resentment in zero time. And that's what we're seeing. It came to a head last year where people pushed back. Bud Light, of course, iconically was the canary in the coal mine for this. And what was honestly one of the most idiotic decisions I've ever seen in my life, which is to engage with the trans influencer, Dylan Mulvaney, right? I think that's a person's name. It was predictable what would happen when you're attacking your core and the mass majority of people in order to placate a very small minority and telling people that they're bad as a result. Because let's not forget, when Bud Light did this, it wasn't just that they did this with an influencer. At the same time, they had the chick that was heading up their marketing telling people that Bud Light didn't want the frat boys anymore, that these people were of a dark age, that they were basically troglodytes. You don't get to insult the vast majority of people and then pretend that you shouldn't have any repercussions for that. That's not going to happen. This year, we saw a massive pullback in corporate sponsorships for Pride events. You're seeing Pride events actually be canceled across the country because of this, because people don't want that. Number one, they don't have money. And number two, there's not interest. A lot of Pride parades have been canceled because there wasn't interest in the population to go anymore, because they don't want to bring their kids to events where people are essentially dressing up as dogs and crapping on the street in front of their children. They don't want to see it. So this year, there's been a massive pullback. I work in public relations. We work with advertising agencies. There is a definitive trend where ad companies and branding companies, excuse me, have made an effort to either simply make a post about it. Okay, we stand with, love and love who you want, instead of going full bore and changing logos and having rainbow everything. And, even Target, they used to have, and Target is again, another recipient, canary in the coal mine, was Target getting boycotted and having a massive influx, or not an influx, a massive impact on their bottom line, with people saying, I'm not going to shop at Target because Target has front and center of the store all of this propagandization, and they're sick of it. So Target this year, massive scaled back. If they have product, it's back. It's not front and center. They've got their 4th of July patriotism front and center, because that has how the culture has shifted again. You're seeing this in, I saw like a breakdown somebody did of logos, like MLB logos. My Philadelphia Phillies still went full Pride, but something like, I think 70% of MLB organizations did nothing at all. An interesting tidbit here in video game world, all these video game companies had strongly embraced Pride and the message of transgenderism and everybody's gay and everything. Destiny is an example of that. Very, very popular game made by Bungie. Destiny 2, they had gone full bore, and they still are pushing it, and they're getting a lot of pushback on it. And we'll see what happens with them. But they had changed all of the characters in their games to be divergent as far as sexualities, as far as identification, as far as again, the massive. There's one instance. This is actually not Ubisoft. I'm trying to think who made Dragon Age, but a character that was a trans, massive woman, man with horns thing that literally lectured you the entire game about how you were not using the proper pronouns. And that game crashed and burned. Losses of hundreds of millions of dollars. Same thing with a game called Concord that Sony put out. They had to cancel the game. Literally, they removed it from the stores and just wrote it out as a tax write-off, because it was so hated because of the character design, because of the narrative arc of the story, which was essentially, hey, shame on you. You're being forced to play as these characters, which nobody identifies with, but a tiny, tiny fraction of the population. So you're seeing the turnaround. And Ubisoft, who was one of the companies that formerly was very woke, very DEI nonsense bullshitty, and put a game out called Assassin's Creed Shadows, which had featured a black, quote unquote, samurai. Now, there's some historical evidence of this, but the truth of the matter was that a black slave was brought to Japan. I think his name's Yasuki or something like that, or Yasubi. He was brought over by a slave. The Japanese shogun at the time, or whatever it might have been, had said, oh, well, this guy's a real novelty. Let's keep him around, and kind of made him an honorary vassal. He was not a samurai. He did not go around samuraiing things, but yet Ubisoft put him front and center and said, this is a black samurai, and you're going to play as him if you like it or not. It infuriated gamers. It pissed off the entire country of Japan, and they took it on the chin to the point where they did a massive restructure, and also had, I think, and I have to look and see later on if this has actually happened or not yet, but there was a threat by shareholders as far as a corporate takeover to get things back on track. To that end, Rainbow Six, which is one of Ubisoft's big selling games for a long time, did not post anything for Pride Month. Instead, what they did was something that was tactically a very smart move, and really what people want to see, which is they post this. And this is at Rainbow Six Game on X. It's okay to take off the mask. Strength and vulnerability are not mutually exclusive. June is Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. Don't forget Father's Day, also in June. We'd like to encourage you to reach out to your friends, ask them how they're doing. pick up a game together and look out for one another. You matter. And it's got a picture of a guy holding his mask, you know, a combat soldier. Think about the message there. Instead of saying, hey, we're standing up with this, which now nobody knows what it means. And by the way, I forgot to finish my fucking Jaws, Jaws story about Jaws and the pride flag. It ties in well here. It's like I was saying, instead of this thing, this pride concept, which is now brought in so many different factors, all of which nobody knows what the stupid flag looks like. And the joke I'd made on Twitter was like in Jaws, we got to need a bigger boat. Yeah, you need a bigger boat to hold all this crap on this flag now. Posting a message that says, look, men's health and men's mental health especially is vitally important. You're in an era right now, especially with social media, especially with all of the hate that's been thrown at men, telling men that they're toxic, that they shouldn't be men anymore, that they should, you know, that they're the fault of everything wrong in the world, and that men are terrible. There's a record level of suicide among men. There's a record level of depression among men, but men do keep it inside. That's part of, I don't know, the male makeup. Much as you might try to fix it, it's probably never going to be fixed to a large extent because men don't want to come across as weak. It's not part of our makeup to do that and to say, look, it's okay sometimes to be vulnerable. Talk to a friend, talk about your problems. If that's going to help you from being isolated and be suicidal or be violent or whatever it might be, go do it. That's a message everyone can get behind. It's not a message for a tiny segment of activists. It's a message for half the population of the country that makes you go, yeah, you know what? Maybe I should check in on my buddy who's not doing so well. I mean, I myself have, you choked up. Oh, I ran in. I myself have a friend who committed suicide. You know, it's real. It's something that when you do know how many things out there need to be talked about, and all they're doing is pushing one version of propaganda that is honestly hateful propaganda towards most of the people, because as we said, it's not a message, you know, as much as they may pretend it is, it's not a message of love everybody all the time. It's become a message of these activists hate you. They hate normal people. And to take up that banner has become very unpopular. And you're seeing that play out in the marketplace, as it should. It took longer than it should because of the money behind it, because of, you know, as we're talking about before, the Vanguards of the world or the BlackRocks of the world that have all this money pushed back from the WEF and from different investor groups. But there comes a time when you can't argue with the reality of the market, and the market has said enough. And that's what we're seeing. It doesn't mean that people should be hateful towards anybody that's part of this film. Can't say anybody. There's certainly people that I despise that are a component of the pride movement at this point. As I said, these violent activists. But it doesn't mean that people shouldn't say, you know, we accept you for who you are. But there comes a time when you say, we don't need to be reminded of it all the time, have it forced in our face all the time. We're good. You know, we've gotten past that. And now you're catering to people that you shouldn't be catering to. So that's their fallout. Okay, last thing. Let's talk about some fallout from AI. Because as I mentioned before, cynicism, me being a cynic, a happy cynic, cynicism, I think, is going to save our world. You're seeing it now in Elon Musk. And Elon Musk is now a full cynic when it comes to the power to change our government without full scale, tear it down, blow it up, and start again. And cynicism is going to play a huge part in how we as humanity survive. I believe this full-heartedly, because you look at what's happening now with AI, and Google just released its new AI. I think it's called Video 3 or something like that. It creates content that is almost indistinguishable from reality. You know, I've been seeing people post pretty fascinating videos where they're recreating Bible stories, and they look just like a mainstream motion picture. They look like real people. You can barely tell in any way that they're not. Their mouths are fine. They don't have, you know, hands that look like feet or have flipper hands like the penguin. They look like major motion pictures. They look almost indistinguishable from reality. We already know our government has no problem lying to us, manipulating us, putting out false footage. We know how much propaganda just in the Ukraine war has come out that has been completely falsified and has no basis in reality. What is it? Like the ghost of Kiev was all nonsense. They put that story out. Everybody ran with that for a while. To think that our governments are not going to create content to lie to us would be foolish. I guarantee they already have it. It's kind of funny. There's been a conspiracy theory about Joe Biden being a robot or some such thing, a robot or a clone that's been going around. I personally don't believe it. But at the same time, we're talking about the CIA, for instance. The CIA, there was a story that I had read, took people that worked in Hollywood. And this is, I think, maybe after Mission Impossible, and they made these masks. And they were so proud of the masks they made that looked so realistic. And the CIA took these people back and they said, no, let me show you the real masks. And I saw a video showcasing one of these masks. Indistinguishable from real human textures. If they already had that, you're telling me that they aren't also on the forefront working hand in hand with Google to create content like this? So we as a society are now being faced with the question of, can we believe our own lying eyes when it comes to anything on video or anything on audio? We are going to be forced, and this is a good for society. And like I've got worries. I'm black-pilled on AI in general, by the way, and I do think it's going to be a forthcoming battle. But we as humanity are actually going to be hitting a let's say it's called a mental evolution, insofar as how we look at anything and everything that we view online. Because if you've got the technology where you can't tell if I'm here right now or not, somebody could recreate me very easily with the amount of video footage that exists and put together a video that would be completely seamless of me telling you to shoot bleach up, right? Like the left pretends Donald Trump told everybody to do, or to eat cats and dogs, or whatever it might be. Very easily could recreate me frame by frame, my mannerisms, my ups and downs in voice, my delivery, my quirks of how I blink my eyes, which I blink my eyes too much during these damn things, but my eyes get dry because my fan's on because it's hot in this room. If you're wondering why I blink so damn much, they can recreate me seamlessly. Humanity is going to be forced to be completely cynical with everything that comes out. Now, this is going to lead to, I hope, and I think, the evolution where we're going to get away from so much online content and imbibing and believing and question everything, which is what you need to do in our era. We already should have been doing this. We saw the lies that come out from our journalists and from our governments, just as far as the reports that come out, the COVID lies that came out. Question everything and believe nothing. You should believe only in the tangible, what you get from a direct conversation with your neighbor, what you can see with your own eyes. I mean, that might be something that we get set back as far as how long it takes for a story to spread or be believed. And that's a good thing, to be honest, because we need more fact checking. We need more people to take a step back and say, hold on, am I getting the full story here? Am I getting the full context here? Can I believe this bullshit or not? Cynicism, my friends, is what will save us in an era of AI. So take that for what it's worth. I might not even be here. Let's end it on that. Although I do have one thing I have to share. I got called out by a Twitter user and a viewer of this podcast. And I can remember he's got like an ace of spades in his Twitter profile. I can't remember your name. Sorry, man. I should have looked your name up. I would have given you a shout out on the show. But he reminded me, I do, in fact, owe you guys a story that I had mentioned and I didn't finish, which is that I've got a horrible dog named Hank. He is a beautiful dog. He looks like I don't even know, like a majestic red-haired dingo. He's got floppy, he's got pointy ears that flop when he walks, red hair. I mean, the dog looks like a show dog, but he's a pure mutt, and he was a street dog that we had adopted. He became a real piece of garbage to the point where he had sent to military shock zap school. And the reason we had to do that was because we had a kid coming. Our first daughter, my daughter Logan, was coming. And before this, we lived in a townhouse style apartment. I go to the gym to work out because, as you can see, ripped. Of course, less ripped now because I'm recovering from this hernia surgery. But I go to the gym. I go in the hot tub. And as you do, you're in your bathing suit. Take off a bathing suit. I throw on my gym shorts. And guys, you know what I'm talking about here. Ladies, if you don't know, you're in the hot tub. Your ball is hanging a little low and swingy. So I throw on my gym shorts. I go home. I let the dogs out the front. I walk out my front gate. There's a little dog I can't see coming because there's two giant bushes on the sides of the entrance to this apartment building. So I walk out there. Little dog runs up. Yap, 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 yap. My big dog, Hank, I had a little dog at the time, Chloe, sweet dog. Big dog Hank had this thing called displaced aggression, where he would go with his fangs, left and right, chomping left and right. He's not even aiming at anything. He's just swinging and chomping. So he swings around and his fang catches me right in my low hanging sack through my shorts. And I know immediately that I'm in trouble. So I'm like, God damn it. Get in the fucking house. Put him in the house, toss him in the crate, pull my pants open, look down, and I can clearly see my own testicle through a hole, which has been perfectly ripped. It looked like somebody took a little scissors and cut a triangle in my scrot. I can see my own testicle staring right back at me. So I give myself credit for this. I calmly walk over to my paper towel dispenser, wad up a good bunch of paper towels, wrap those around the old scrot down there, get in my car and drive to what I think is a emergency room. I pulled into the parking lot. It was a Kaiser Permanente building, but it said emergency room on the phone, my phone map. So I pull in there and I pull into the empty parking garage. And I'm like, okay, well, it's near the end of the day. It's like 5 o'clock. Maybe everybody's gone home. I'm going to get out of my car. Now, as I do, and remember, I'm getting out of my car with my hand down my pants, holding my paper towels over my torn scrotum. I get out of the car right as a nurse is coming down the stairs in the parking garage. So I just look like a pervert jerking off. And I'm like, hey, you. She's like, oh. Like, is this an emergency room? She goes, no, down the street. I go, okay, thanks. Jump back in my car, drive to the emergency room, get out, go in. It's all male attendants for whatever reason. The time I got there, it's all male men to check me in, male nurse in the emergency room, in the back room waiting. I waited for 4 hours, by the way, because oddly enough, and not for the squeamish of heart, but oddly enough, when you rip your scrotum open, it doesn't bleed that much. Go figure. Thin skin. I don't know. It didn't bleed that much. So they were like, you're not an emergency. You're okay. We'll give you some Tylenol while you wait. But every one of these male attendants, I'm like, I tell them what happened. And everybody had the same reaction. They all go, oh, God. So long story short, a very attractive nurse practitioner ends up stitching me up. And I'm fully recovered. I had my children, so no harm done there. He hit the sack, but didn't hit the nuts. And we still have this piece of shit dog. So, let it never be said that as crass as I may come across in life, I'm not a very caring man, a very loyal man, and that I will not look for every reason to forgive and to find a way to maintain life. So there you go. There's the story. All right, guys, if you liked that story, or if you didn't, you should probably give more to the Patreon and be like, never tell that again. But if you like what you hear here, please go to subscribe, Lions of Liberty Network. You get all of our shows, all 5 of our shows on the Lions of Liberty Network. Politics will be back this Friday, of course. And we've got Lou Perez and Brian Nichols on the network now, which is great. So go ahead. Hit that subscribe button. If you want to go and donate to our Patreon, get all that bonus content, go to patreon.com/Lions of Liberty or lionsofliberty.locals.com. All right, that's it, guys. From me, Brian McWilliams from Mean Age Daydream here on the Lions of Liberty Network. Keep those electric eyes on me, babe, and keep that ray gun to my head. I'll talk to you later.